Hey people, this is the third one in this Apollyon series. But old King Djoser, you could try to read up on it. I'm sure everybody that's into Egypt knows about Djoser. And what they know is not a whole lot because they tried to erase Djoser. They're not real sure how long he was king. And they can't find a whole lot of writings about him. When they see something that looked like it had his name, he was erased. He was erased from his cartouche. It's said to be in the third dynasty, around 2686 BC. And so you can go to Wikipedia and learn. There's not a whole lot about him. The Djoser step pyramids, it was said to be from Djoser's time. And they said that he had to serve for 30 years for all that he had built. But I'm going to go to the language and figure out more about him from the language. So at the end of that part 2, I was backtracking to get back where I'd been while I was looking at this Poly, P-O-L-Y-A-W-N, Apollyon. The doers, the evil doers, they say. This is what they say is the destroyer. In the Greek Bible, they say Apollyon is destroyer. And you'll always find a different word. Every time it says Apollyon in the Hebrew, they'll give a different word for destroy. Like I say, destroy most of the time is shit. S-H-I-T. Shit. Went to shit. And so you're going to see that this is just plain ancient English here. And it talks about several things in these 8 lines of before his times. It starts with A, reads backwards. This is times. And of incision. And the seeing in job. And from losing buster. And to love in office. And the lotus, the lotus flower it talks about here, and there's no denying this when you read it. And talks about some butt kicking here. Talk about the licks of elixir. So in this Hebrew, it's nothing I will set before my eyes, and it's actually the lotus backwards, and forwards. The lotus is sit. And 'tis all along doing. All along doing. But when you look at it in the Greek, that's where they got before my eyes come from. Here in 3. And it's this is the U here, and it's the U, V, or W, same as in the Hebrew or Phoenician, O-V, of Piro, P-R-O-E, of the Piro. That's the boat that the Egyptian gods all sit in the beginning. Of Piro, the men, the Tet is T-H-E-M-H-N, M-E-N, the men. Before my eyes is P-R-O-O-Q, proof. Show me some proof, before my eyes. Thalamon, move, phragma. And so Thalamon is the word for a treaty written by Ptolemy. He's famous for the Earth Center theory. And I talked about it where I found Ptolemy and Pythagoras in the Hebrew a couple movies back. But it's just pronounced Ptolemy. There's no P in it. That's where it come from in them writings of proof. And they added, that Q. Sometimes they give it the P. But you see his name spelled several different ways. Amazing. Every time you see the ancient writings, they're always a different spelling. It's because Ptolemy's not the man. That's the subject it's talking about. There was ancient treatise on optics that is said to written. And he writes about the properties of sight, not light, including reflection, refraction, and color. History of optics. And so that's where that comes from. Before my eyes, the proof. Thalamon, move. M-O-V, move. So these are two very different books, and this one is the solemn as. You know, the psi, that's the letter for fire. Looks like the devil's pitchfork, you know. And this, the soul is the sun, the solemn as to divide, the lion to christen. You see the Leo, and the lion was spelled with the E. And you see that in all that ancient alchemy art. You always see the crown on the lion and christening the sun, the Solomon to divide, the lion to christen. But this Hebrew is just L-D-U-D, of dude, or leaded, you know, got your gun loaded and ready to write. You're leaded from somewhere, you know, somewhere. Zoomer is, it's a couple movies ago, Zoomer was the ancient word for a room, and this is where it comes from. It's backwards. It's rooms, R-U-M-Z. So they got to thinking it was rooms, but it's to amazingware. Leaded amazingware. Chased tops from 'em spot. You chased from the top spot. It starts there, it reads backwards. Arise, E-R-I-S-A. Arise like you. The rhymes, this is where they get that for the praises. E-R-M-Z-A, the rhymes. And that's why everything with the Z-M-R, you know, they'll give it song or sings or something like that. And this is, it starts with A, so it reads backwards, and then you hit the wall and you read it backwards twice. And so this E, the lick, E-L-I-K, S, the licks. The licks elixir. You know, elixir is your medicine, and the licks is the punches of a fight. And sometimes somebody needs their ass kicked would be a good medicine from them. I will behave wisely. The licks elixir. In dark times, mighty taboo. You know, elixir in dark times, mighty taboo. A taboo is, you know, speeding, and a mighty taboo is DUI. I'll cleat to butts. I've in love thee, in crave biddy. You know, everything with an A gets read backwards. So I-L-A, I will, you know, I'll cleat to, K-L-E-T-A, you know, to, cleat to butts. Thing ends with this final M, pronounced as a S. To butts, I've in love thee, I've in love by, in love, in make, in crave biddy. You know, biddy is a small amount, and if there was a tack here it would read backwards and forwards, it would be itty bitty. It would be even smaller. But the elixir, kicking some ass was your good medicine. Will behave in dark times, mighty taboo. You know, in the dark times, a mighty taboo. That's what it gets, is a elixir. I'll to cleat to butts. I've in love by and crave biddy. And so a cleat to, you know, I will walk. That's an ancient shoe. And like something like that. And you would use them to keep your feet from getting wet. But you would also use them if you were putting an epoxy floor down. You know, you walk on these cleats and doing any kind of liquid floor finish. You know, you would wear these cleats so you didn't mess up your finish. And I've seen somewhere there was ancient Egyptian artwork on the wall. There was wearing these cleats somewhere in there. And I'm sure it was a worker doing some type of job where he didn't want to get the concrete on his feet, you know, doing some kind of floor finish, paint or something. So this tack has me read this backwards and forwards, and then I hit this wall, and I have to go back all the way again before I come this way. And so this is Lotus, as it 'tis that old long doing, ever loyal in lie all, whose myths this. And that's the reason why they use this letter, because sometimes words read both ways. And so it's MITHS. It looks like this final S more than it does the M. And then THIS. The myths this sanity. And they hate sanity. This sanity laid back by. So there's many myths about this blue lotus, and it was one of the favorite subjects of art in ancient Egypt. It's said to have a porphyry and is said to be the main psychoactive compounds. It's something, these are things that they would give somebody that's homicidal or suicidal. And it was known to the Mayans and the ancient Egyptians. Homer wrote about it in the Odyssey as the lotus eaters, the lotophagi. And so I'm not so sure about fag. In Britain, a fag is a cigarette. Something you smoke, not something you eat. But the writings were about Odysseus taking his man, because they would go fag this lotus, and they were pretty much worthless after that. The lotus, as it is, I believe the AL is like OL, and the OL is like AL, all, and the AL is O. The O, long doing, Dever, that's where you get your word diversity. It means like in every D, the B, is the VR, ver, and it meaning, just spread out, the every, not just one type, to every. A long doing, to every, loyal, LOYLNLYOL, loyal and loyal. Whose myth this is, sanity laid back by. Love in, LV, they say it's the heart, but it was drawn as a picture of a heart, and it meant LV, love, and then B means in. Love in office is where, from many, rolla owed, love in office, where the place of your work, the love in office is where many from many rolla owed. In your office you might have a Rolodex to put all your numbers in it. Well, that's where you would have your rolla owed. And this rolla owed, ode is what psalms are. They're odes, they're songs with a meaning. It's the office, you get high on some blue lotus, and is where from many roll a ode, writing new odes. And I told you last time, sometimes they get the wrong word in the brackets, and what I mean is, the words are right, but the brackets, they got them off. The brackets go on the two words that are the same. You see how this one doesn't have a number? And it means that only one of these two words here was here before. It was two different books, and the word was spelled a little different for a numerical value to change in the word. This one just lost 6 points here by losing this vav. And so the brackets really mean nothing except just read one of these words. And I like this one here because they'll have the vowel points on it to help. They never have the vowel points on this one, but I believe this was the first word in most of my reading. It looks like it fits, the spellings are the same, and this is a word that would be changed in order to change the numerical value. From lushing in stir, rights of in soul from. Lush is very rich in providing great sensory pleasure. And you get high and you see the lights, and from lushing in stir, the rights of in soul from. and you write about what's deep in your soul. Rahu, à toi. The times gave from enjoying, M-I-N, from in, and then J-O-Y-N-I, from enjoying, from where have, love in what to, lo laku. From lushing in stir, the rights of in soul from. Rahu is something you holler at the football game, maybe, but it's also the north node. Rahu is where the sun's sitting on Easter, is your north node. In astrology, it's kind of like a planet. It's something you add up in there, where Rahu is, the north and south nodes. À toi. We've seen this word before. Usually they never give this word. It goes in that class, same class as this one. They'll never give them a meaning until they just have to. Sometimes I say it means and. But there's a whole list of words here. It's one of the first things I figured out was this word in the Bible. It's knowledge and marks. It never gives a meaning. But we found where on Arabic just the A-U-T, that is the toi. They say it means the sign. The Rahu, to sign. What sign? And the times, T-I-M-X-A, read backwards. And so the play on words, you see this without the T, the mark is the T. James, J-M-X-A, James, telling a story, that Jack is the one who ended up with it. He stole it, and Jimmy is the tool he used to get it, and James was the rightful owner. James means the one who's supposed to be the next king, James. And so times, T-I, the mark work is numbers, T-I, the numbers, and then from cross power. So if you take numbers and from cross power, 3 cross power of 4 is times, 3 times 4. So it means the same thing as times today, and also times as in on your watch. The times gave, G-V-E. So, times gave will destroy something in time, but it doesn't mean that it means destroy. It just means that the time is what destroyed. Times is the destroyer. The time. The time gave from in seeing where have love in what Allah. There's your God. What Allah. A-L-A. So it doesn't matter which way this was. Sometimes it's spelled A-L, but it always reads the L first. So that's why you see a lot of words next to L-A and A-L. They'll give God, and sometimes they'll even say that this means God. The same word is not. Many times they will. To love in what Allah of Q. Q the time. Seeing, the I and is to see. The C and then I and I. The C. Seeing, and then backwards, N-J-O-B. The seeing in job, naming, N-A-M-N-I. Let's say N-I is ing. The naming, share. And share isn't land. Share is a piece of. A share. Arch, R-X. The arts. Less of it to die. Like in dark times. Who is writing? Who is writing? He that shall serve me is who is writing. And so seeing in job naming, the share RX. So RX, I believe it was a man that told me a couple of years ago that RX meant retrograde. And I believe it was, she again told me that It also means recipe. It's short for recipe. What you're mixing up in the pot is where that come from. But when I look at the old, when I look at this old Christian alchemy, I believe, this is the Earth Center. This is the old Ptolemy model. And I find this RX, and it takes the place, it's short for Revolicado, revolutions. It's talking about the revolutions. And you can see here, because they got the revolutions of De Luna in 27 days. In Mercury, it's 70 days. And when you get up here to Saturn in 30 years. And they also had guessed in this 36,000 year of a Deseo das trellis, the trellis, the stars above. And so they were given a count of 36,000 years for the recession. And so that just means to question everything. Just because one ancient writer used this symbol for one thing, it doesn't mean that's all it was used for, and it doesn't mean another writer used it for the same things. And tell me if you ever heard this story. When I was in school, they told us that the word sandwich came from the Earl of Sandwich, and he was a card player, and he needed some food that wouldn't get his fingers greasy while he was playing cards, and so he invented putting meat between bread, and he invented the sandwich, and therefore it was the Earl of Sandwich, and so he named it after him, which is a total crock, And I can't believe that they told us this, and maybe they do it just to see if some smarter people will really think about it. But Earl, is come from your word, like same as Israel, his rule, his role, his job is sandwich. The Earl, her role, a sandwich, and I know somebody that has the most beautiful little young wife and calls her a sandwich maker. That rude son of a bitch. But that's where it come from, sandwich, and sandwich means to send witch. I showed a couple of movies ago where winch was given the meaning evil sorcery. If you got your truck stuck and you use a winch to get it out of the mud, you were using evil sorcery. But a witch, you see this word Eve is spelled H-U-E, and it reads backwards here. And what this says is, we had from, I do. Oh, if you said I do, you had from. We had from I do to the witch, E-W-H, we, the witch we, and then starts with A and it reads backwards. What suit her, S-A-U-T-E-R, to the witch, what suit her, whatever she wants, but she is the witch, the W-H, witch, W-C-H, and so that's where your word descend witch, her role to send witch, bring me something to eat, send witch. So I'll forever be tuning these writings. There's always going to be something else I see when I read something and come back again. But seeing in job, naming, the share, recipe, the recipe of the heavens, the recipe in the drugs, the recipe of Shabbat. Shabbat is Saturday, the rest, Saturn. Home die, whom D-I-E like, whom die like. I say, so of Shavat, whom die like, die is a color. Shavat is Saturn, so that would mean black. Whom die like, or purple. In dark times, who is writing. And you see his whom die like is with me, he who walks. Whom die like. In the dark times is who is writing. And so this lo is never not. It's sometimes beware. Most times it's just a piece of a word. But it's lo, beware. Low incision. So beware incision, in the decision, in the sea of encrave. Biddy as hear me, little as hear me, it ever through the dever. You know, the dever is the varying, you know, et ever. In hear me et ever, the square is long to Kickwin, long doing, LNG, long, DOINI, doing, long through seeing, long doing. So beware in the cision, in the sea of encrave, but little as hear me it ever, you know, the very, the whatever suffer is, you know, lies, the suffer is, or the square is. So the square would never be lies, the square is the truth. But the suffer is long to Kickwin, long doing. So I'm going to leave that open for your interpretation. This it's getting long, but this is what I want to get to. Is this of before is, of buffer is. You know, BQR, that's usually what they say is morning. And that's what this early comes from. And it's not morning, it's the buffer between the hot day and the cool night is the buffer is. Of buffer is. Before, you know, before the hot day. Of buffer is times. Of before his times. And so this is called Djoser, the wicked, called Djoser, say, or, but you know, they say it's Djoser was wicked, they erased him, but this tells why. And it's the Cleoser, say. And so Cleos is Cleos, they say it means glory. And so it has other definitions. You know, glory is just something they tell you because they don't want to break it down. But you know, the Joes are the ones that would do your bidding. You know, the Joes, those are the ones that are with you. My Joes, my GI Joes, and the GI Joes, the ones that's with the government's plan, the Joes. And to call the Djoser, say, to share recipe, to share the rights of the crit, le crit, of the crit. And so crit is short for criticism. Share the rights of the crit. But it's also, the crit is in the secrets, in the crit, in witchcraft of the crit. The Moyer have you. The Moyer have you. Give Lilo Apollyon, or Polly, many knew. That's why Apollyon's destroyer, because everybody knew. And so a Moyer is not just from the city. He's a dude just cutting grass. So a Moyer is the reaper. A mower. He's the one with that big say blade. That's what we used to cut grass with back in the country. Big old say blade. And before his times, Cleos, the glory, first say, share the recipe of the crit. And so he done shared the recipe of the crit. And that's why Djoser, Josr, that's why Djoser the wicked was removed from everything. He gave everybody the royal plans. Hopefully Trump will do the same thing for us. That's why Trump is the wicked. The wicked Trump. Hopefully he's going to turn loose and clean up the swamp of the crit. the moyer, the reaper have you, give Lilo many new. And so Lilo is the generous one. The moyer, the reaper have you, give the generous one many new. So I remember how I got here. Now I'm gonna backtrack. I was reading, there's several short psalms before this. 100 is really short, 5 lines, and 99 I think it's about 6-7 lines, 9 lines, and 98 is, I read 98, and that's what had me keep on reading these psalms. And I believe this is where I'm going to go next. I can't remember what it was I was reading here, but whatever it was, it urged me to keep on reading these psalms. And so this will be in the next flick. All right, good day.